Welcome to the Juliet Delta podcast. I am your host, Juliet Delta. Thanks for coming back. I'm glad you're here. Today we're going to talk about transsexuals. Now, a transsexual person, obviously we're going to get right into it. I already got my pinchy snuff. I got to go get me some whiskey here in a minute. I don't have it right now. So I might not be right on my game right at the beginning. But we'll take a little short break. Get me a little glass of brown water on the rocks here in a moment. But to get started, a transgender person believes, this is my understanding, they believe that their mind and their brain is a different sex than their body is. So genetically speaking, their genes and their physical body may be male. They have a wiener and they have balls. So they got twig and berries, and their genetic makeup is male, 100% male. But they've decided, or in their mind, maybe not they decide, they don't feel like they've decided, they feel like they were born with a female brain, and their brain is who they really are, not what their weenie in between their legs is, has no say over it. That's just a mistake. So they believe that it's only right that they should be able to cut their little wiener off and their balls off. And really, they don't even cut it off. They just kind of butcher it up real good and kind of fold it in. I mean, they take the testicles off and then they slice it up real good and then they fold it inward so that you kind of have a hole that can be penetrated sexually by maybe an unsuspecting heterosexual male later or homosexual male. I don't really know. And honestly, I don't care what they want to do sexually. I think that the problem, though, is the bigger problem is that society and wants everyone to accept that that's okay. That way of thinking is normal. And my personal opinion is that it's a complete, it's a mental health issue. These people are mentally ill. And I think that accepting and enabling people to continue with these complete fantasies that are based completely outside of reality, when someone is accepted for this total fantasy, when non-reality is accepted by all those around you, and you have this sense of confirmation that you're right, this altered universe, this altered reality that you've created in your own mind is okay and is good, and to pursue it. And then what happens? So you embrace it. You have confirmation by society, the people around you. Well, then what happens is when things don't pan out, you feel totally, or I assume these people are feeling totally let down. They don't understand. They're so confused. And, you end up with such a high rate of suicide. Now, if I just told you blanket across the board, it had nothing to do with the issue. If I just said that this group, there's two rooms and two groups of people in each room, or a group of people in each room. One group of people has a suicide rate that is just the average suicide rate of that group. And then this group over here is 20 times, not 20%, 20 times higher than the suicide rate of this other group. You would say, well, there's something major wrong on a mental health issue level with this group. There's a reason that they commit suicide 20 times at a rate that's 20 times higher. And is it something that's wrong With these people, yes. Now, the number one argument is that they commit suicide because they don't feel accepted and they feel bullied, and the lack of acceptance and bullying in society cause them to commit suicide. That's absolutely based in nothing more than assumption and emotion, and that's what society and your left-wing liberal type people want to tell you. The truth is, these people are accepted, and when they're not accepted, they're a victim for not being accepted. They're put on a pedestal. I mean, just regular, run-of-the-mill homosexual people aren't committing suicide at this rate. Heterosexual people that are not accepted for whatever reason don't commit suicide. No other group that's quote-unquote not accepted by society commit suicide at a rate that's 20 times higher than the accepted rate, the accepted groups. None. So by saying this, this is just guessing, or not even guessing. They probably know it's not true, or they want to believe it. It's not the reason they're committing suicide. They're committing suicide because they're mentally ill. They believe that, if I cut my wiener off and I get breast implants and everybody accepts me, then what I think in my mind is right, that I'm a woman. And I'm just using a man as an example. We could do a woman that's transgender into a man, although that's not near as common. It's way more common for a man to feel like he's transsexual and needs to be a woman. It seems to be a mental illness that's more in males than in females. I'm not saying it doesn't exist. Not all, but some. Or most. Most men are the ones that are having this issue. And I could pull the stats. The stats don't matter. I mean, I'm conceding that some women are transsexual to men, but more men are transsexual to women. That's just a fact. So why are they killing themselves? They're getting their wieners chopped off. They're getting their balls cut off and removed. They're having the testosterone removed. They're taking supplements of estrogen. They're putting hormones and chemicals in their body that the female body naturally makes. They're getting breasts. They're dressing like a woman. They're getting face plastic surgery. They're wearing makeup, growing their hair out. They're doing all the outward physical characteristics to look like a woman. And then when they don't get accepted, they do get accepted, but they don't accept themselves. It still doesn't feel right. They know, their brain, their genes are fighting back. Genetically, their body is a male. And what do all genes want to do? All genes want to reproduce. That's their goal. All living things on Earth, whether it's a plant, a tree, a fish, a human, a mammal, a reptile, every living thing wants to pass on. Every gene wants to pass on descendants and have descent. That's biology. No matter what we come up with in an office sitting laying on a couch with a head shrink, you can't fight biology. So what we're doing is we're accepting something that's anti-biological and saying, we accept this, people, we accept you. But what are we really doing? By not saying, whoa, stop, we don't accept this. This shows, everything around this group of people shows huge red flags of mental illness. So let's attack the mental illness. Let's help find a treatment for that, so that these people can go on and live normal life. If they want to be homosexual, let them be homosexual. I'm not sitting here saying homosexuality is a mental illness. I don't agree with it on a personal level because I'm heterosexual. But I don't look to stop two dudes from rubbing their weenies together. If they want to rub wieners together, go ahead. What they do in their own private bedroom and what satisfies them sexually is fine. Do I think it's biological? No. are they committing suicide at a rate 20% higher than heterosexual men? No, they're not. So I can't sit here and argue a mental illness case. They're also not chopping up parts of their body. They're not doing self-mutilation. They're not having, body parts added to them. I mean, we live in a world where we're supposed to pretend that somebody who wants to do all those things is normal. And I'm sorry, that's not normal, rational, logical thinking. That's if somebody wants to chop their arms off and legs off, and they want to gouge their eyes out and be blind, or they never realize that they're thin. We can compare this to anorexia. It's been done. Let's look at people that are anorexic. They look in the mirror and they're never content or satisfied with the image that they see in the mirror. They always think they're too fat. They never think they're pretty enough. They're not good enough in their own eyes. Although they probably went through stages in life where they were extremely fit and they had an amazing body. And they probably had a body that was extremely sexually attractive on a biological level to a majority of men. That is to say that their body stimulated men sexually, and on a very caveman level, on a biological level, on the outside appearance only, physical appearance only, there's probably a lot of men that said that woman is going to be good at making babies, good at reproducing genetics. This woman is going to help me pass on my genes. But she took it past that. And the anorexic keeps going. Got to keep losing more weight. Got to keep getting more skinny. Not skinny enough. Okay? Why? She's mentally ill. We can all sit here and say that anorexia is a mental illness. And we want to get a cure for it. There's something not right in a woman's mind. And there are some men, but very few. It's kind of the opposite. Transsexual happens to be a lot more men. Anorexia happens to be a lot more women. There's something wrong with a woman that never is satisfied with her body. And we can blame it on society, how they were raised. I don't care what the cause is. We can debate and look at the cause on another day. But today, in this conversation, I'm saying let's recognize that it's a mental illness. And by recognizing it's a mental illness, we don't have to accept it. We don't accept that it's okay. We don't accept that it's just something that we should just celebrate. No. We say, no, we have to get these people help. Because we recognize that if we ignore these situations with anorexia, then we know that they're going to end up dead. So we don't sit around here pretending that anorexia is okay and anorexia, it's okay, let them do what they want to do. No, we see the signs on the wall that they'll end up starving to death. But we don't do that with transgender people. I don't know why. And this whole acceptance of everybody and let people be individuals. I'm not saying you're not allowed to be an individual, but we shouldn't be forced to accept mental illness as okay. That's all I'm saying. I don't want these people locked up. I don't want these people necessarily stopped from pursuing becoming a transgender legally. But if everyone said, no, this is totally unacceptable, this is signs of a mental illness, then more people will get help. When you condone something and enable people to keep doing what they're doing, they accept that it's okay in their own minds. And when we tell people, no, we love you, but we don't accept this behavior. Bipolar people. You don't sit here and say, okay, you don't have any problems. People should love you for who you are. If you want to be manic And one day you're living life and you're so goal oriented and you're so responsible, and then the next day you're basically crashing and burning everything you've worked hard for the last 6 months or last 30 days. Bipolar people can go 6 months, a year, and on a high where they're doing so great, and then in a week they can destroy everything they've built. We don't sit here and say that that's okay. We don't accept that as normal, rational, logical, healthy behavior. Do we think they need to be put in jail? No. Do we think that legally we should do anything to them? No. But we can all agree they need some mental help. And there's nothing wrong with people saying, whoa, your behavior is unacceptable. It's harmful to yourself, and it's potentially harmful to others, and we're not accepting it. You can continue, but we're not accepting it. We're not enabling you to continue to behave this way. And we feel like it's bad for you, and if you want help, we're here to help you because we love you. And those are people that obviously care and love these people. My whole position is, by accepting people as transgender and as if that's normal behavior, just like the bipolar person, just like the anorexic, we are accepting them into suicide. Obviously 20 times higher rate. But individuals who identify as transgender people tend to experience higher rates of mental health issues than the general population, while approximately 6.7% of the general United States population suffers from depression. 18% grapple with some kind of anxiety or okay, so the general population, approximately 6.7%, suffers from depression, while 18% claim some type or are diagnosed with some type of anxiety disorder. Almost 50% of individuals who identify as transgender experience these same issues. Over 41% of transsexual men and women have attempted suicide. Now, that's crazy to accept that as a not mental health issue. It is a mental health issue. And I'm sorry. You can sit here and say I'm being a bigot and I'm hating on these people, I'm not being accepting. I'm the one that wants to get them help so they can live and go on to live a normal, happy, healthy life. I don't care what they do with that life. I just don't want them committing suicide. Their life is valuable to me. To me, I think it's very strange that someone that says, hey, there's a problem here, let's get these people some help, I found their life valuable, is a bad person, is a hater, is a bigot, is committing hate speech. But the person that says, no, I'm going to accept their insanity until it kills them, and then I'm going to be there crying at their funeral when they're only 20 or 25 or 30 years old, when they could have gotten help, those are the people that actually care about them. I would rather not see them in a casket until they die of natural causes, until they're 87 years old and their body collapses just from old age. And I'm the bad guy. I mean, let's face it, guys, that doesn't make me the bad guy. That makes me the person that actually has a little bit of compassion. I'm going to turn to an article. Let me get situated in my desk here. I'm going to turn to an article that was written by Dr. McHugh, and I don't know where he was currently when he wrote this, gave these quotes. I'm just going to quote some stuff from him from his studies. But he is the former chief psychiatrist at Johns Hopkins Hospital. Johns Hopkins. This isn't just some right-wing nut job posting, some crazy stuff about mixed with his religious beliefs that it's wrong. No, this is an actual doctor that's a psychiatrist, and not just any psychiatrist, at Johns Hopkins. Some stuff that I think is important is that he goes on to show that people that get the surgery, a reassignment surgery, most said they were satisfied with their operation. But their subsequent psychosocial adjustments and their analysis by psychiatrists later show that they were no better, not one bit better than those that didn't have the surgeries. So getting this gender reassignment surgery doesn't help these people mentally. It doesn't put a period. It's not some great revolution. It's not a caterpillar turning into a butterfly moment. No, the problem is still there. The mental illness is still there. He goes on to warn against enabling and encouraging these transgender people, especially young people. He believes they're susceptible, and so do I, to suggestion from the everything is normal sex education in the schools of diversity counselors who, like cult leaders, I'm quoting him, may encourage these young people to distance themselves from their families and offer advice on rebuting arguments against having transgender surgery. So basically what he's trying to say there in a nutshell, from what I interpret, and I believe this is true, that our schools, our sex education, society, our social media, the media in general, our television, everything that's pro-transgender and pro-acceptance, they're actually isolating and alienating them from the people that love them and care about them, their parents, their friends, their family. The people that would step in and say, no, wait a minute, let's don't go down this road. There's some red flags here. There's some mental illness red flags. The psychiatrist, Dr. McHugh, also reports that there are misguided doctors who, while working with very young children, seem to imitate the opposite sex, will administer puberty-delaying hormones to render later sex change surgeries less erroneous, even though the drugs stunt the children's growth and risk causing them to be sterile. Now, come on, people. You're talking about taking drugs as a parent through the advice of a doctor to give your children medication and drugs that will stunt their growth and cause them to be sterile, ending their genetic code on Earth, ending their ability to naturally reproduce, so that their sex change surgery can be easier down the road. I cannot not say that this is child abuse. Any parent that would choose that on a young child, and we're talking about very young, they don't say the age in the article, but I've done some research. We're talking about 3 years old, 5 years old, 7 years old, a young boy that's 5 or 6 or 7 or 10 that acts feminine, that is very effeminate man. Okay? You don't give that kid drugs that will stunt his growth, cause him to be sterile, change his hormones, all so that you believe he's going to become a transgender one day. You as the parent have decided that he is transgender. He may grow up and decide he just wants to be gay, or that he is gay. He may grow up and say, you know what, I'm a heterosexual man, I like pussy, and I want to have kids. But these parents are taking that biological right away from their own children. This is insane. Sex change, most doctors, most, not nutcases, but most psychiatrists, including Dr. McHugh, say that sex change is biologically impossible. And it is. No matter what you put, no matter what you chop off, no matter what hormones you take, no matter what you add on, if you add on breast implants, no matter how you dress and how you talk and who you have sex with, you're still biologically a man if you were a man when you were born. That's just the way you are. And sex reassignment surgery doesn't change a man to a woman or vice versa. Rather, they really become feminized men, or they become very masculine women. Claiming this is a civil rights matter and encouraging surgical intervention, it's in reality, it's collaborating and promoting a mental disorder. I don't think we can go any further than that. I mean, that pretty much puts a period on this whole. I've been making podcasts now. This is my 5th one. I'm just getting started in this. Join my Twitter at Juliet Delta Pod C. So at Juliet Delta Pod C. Join me there. If you disagree, jump on there. I'm going to post a link to this podcast on YouTube and iTunes. When I make those posts, jump on there and disagree if you disagree with me. Let's talk about it. If I'm totally wrong, let's talk about it. But all the evidence that I see, I've never found happy transsexual people that go on and just live life and are actually happy. So what I want to see is, I'd rather see people not commit suicide. I think that transsexual people are mentally ill, just like people that are anorexic, just like people that are bipolar. Any mental illness you want to throw out there, you could take 10 of them. It's the same thing. They all need help. We don't sit here and say people with PTSD and their behavior should be accepted. No, I'm a very big advocate of PTSD problems, getting those things remedied. I'm a huge advocate of Camp Hope. Camp Hope, to me, is the foundation if you care about our fighting men and women. Why? Because almost all, I haven't found hardly any of the other charities, foundations, organizations that don't take a huge cut. And I'm not going to sit here and talk down to these other foundations. There's a lot of them that I'm sure they've helped some people, but they take a huge cut. The Camp Hope, based out of Houston, Texas. What do? They actually have facilities. They're building facilities. They're building dorms. They're taking our men and women that when they come back and they see some of the worst things on earth happening, and they come back with PTSD, the people they loved, their brothers they fought alongside of, their sisters they fought alongside of, when they come back, they're emotionally traumatized. They have mental and emotional illness, and it's called PTSD. Excuse me. What do? They give them peer-to-peer counseling. And they are single-handedly taking these people that are on the brink of suicide, and they're trying to help in that. Are they 100% successful? No, no one is. But, I mean, I need to call them and find out what their rate is right now of people that come to their facility and end up living normal, healthy, happy lives. It's extremely high, and I don't want to throw out any numbers because I haven't looked in probably over 6 months, probably closer to a year. At one time, I was researching all of the info on PTSD, and I was current with all the current numbers, and I'm sure those numbers have changed. They change rapidly and fluctuate quite regularly up and down. And that's all to do to how much war we're committing, how many people we're sending over there to die. Sometimes it's a whole lot in 6 months, and sometimes it's not, so we don't have as many people coming back with PTSD. But the reports, I believe it's every 21 seconds. Every 21 seconds, someone commits suicide from PTSD, and almost all of those are military. If not all of those are our military. I paint with a broad brush because to sit here and say this is empirical evidence is setting myself up to be challenged and be found wrong, when I don't care about the exact particulars. Let's say it's 22 seconds. Let's say it's once every 22 minutes, once every 21 hours, 21 fucking days. It's too many people. The truth is, our men and women that go over to fight these wars, you can agree with the war or you can't, or you don't have to, but they're over there fighting. If we can afford to send them over there, we should be able to afford to take care of them, and we're not. Now, no one in their right fucking mind would say, oh, those people came back. Now they have a mental illness. That's PTSD. You know what will help them? We'll just all accept how they feel and all of their trauma as normal. We'll tell them their behavior is okay. When they wake up in the middle of the night and they're choking their wife or their girlfriend, and they're having night sweats and they wake up and their wife wakes up with a gun up against her head, and this person is, in a complete stop, a complete mode and frame and of just complete chaos, dripping with sweat, waking up in this state. Would anyone out here say, well, wife, girlfriend, sister, mother, whoever he's doing this to, this behavior, you just need to love and accept him for who he is. That will make him better. No, no one would dare say that, because they know that he's either going to end up killing somebody or he's going to kill himself. And he's got a really, really high chance of killing himself. So what do? We say, let's fix the problem. We don't enable the problem until they kill themselves and say, well, anything less was just being hateful and bigoted. If we tried to resolve the issue and tried to help these people from the obvious end result of suicide or harming someone so bad that they... Sometimes they don't commit suicide just because they want to kill themselves. Sometimes they do some horrible stuff to people that they love, and then they're so regretful and remorseful that they kill themselves. They feel like they just can't go on living with the monster that they feel like they are. So we won't just accept that. Society shouldn't just say, oh, that's great. That's the way it should be. Continue. No. We say, you've got help, people, and Camp Hope is making a difference. I posted on my Twitter this morning a link to Camp Hope. I highly encourage you to go and contribute to them. I do every year. That's my number one charity I contribute to. And if this podcast goes well, I don't want to use them as a tool to try to create followers or create money for myself. I just have a moral and principled problem with that for myself. But I will say, and I won't say the number, when I get to if I get to a certain level of subscribers and followers, and that I can actually make a difference. I'm not monetized. I'm not making any money from this. One day I hope to, and I'm going to take a large percentage of that and donate it to people like Camp Hope. I work a full-time job now, and I donate every year to Camp Hope. And that's what I like to do. That's where I feel that that's my cause. I make that choice. I'm not asking you to make that your choice. I'm asking you to research it, look into it, and if they look like a charity you can get behind, if they look like an organization that you can donate and give some of your resources, I say please do. All I'm asking is you check them out. Because we wouldn't throw them to the wind. We don't want to just say, hey, if we just accept them, they'll be better. No, absolutely 100% not. We've got to get them help. Just like we've got to get people that are transsexual help. They're killing themselves 20 times more than people that are non-transsexual. I mean, they are being enabled and accepted to death by good intended people. I mean, these people are well intended. They're not intending just to kill them. But this immediate defense to, if you say, wait, let's take a step back and let's, look at this from a different point of view, is you're a hateful person. You're a bigot against them. You're transphobic. No, I'm not making any religious argument here at all. I think religion has no place in this argument about transsexuals. I think doctors and mental health has a huge play. Is the play. Because I think that it's how we address these people from killing themselves. If we don't stop and take a back seat, this is the kind of thing that society and well-intended people in society, especially on the left, this will continue with another issue. And there are other issues they're already doing it with. They're doing it with guns. They're doing it with abortion. They're doing it with state rights. They're doing it with pretty much any issue you can think of. They don't go to fix the problem. It's support and love the individual, and anything anybody thinks is good. No. We have to take a step back and start changing. We need to start voicing our opinions and saying that transsexual people have a mental disorder. It's not rational and logical, and it's not okay to look down between your legs and say, that's not what I'm supposed to have down there. Let me cut it off. Let me add to it. Let me have some surgeries. Let me start taking some pills. It's even worse when we've gone to the point of acceptance to where parents are colluding with doctors to give their little young children. And 80% of those children, when they become a legal adult, sometime after they become a legal adult, decide they don't want to be transgender, and they don't even want to be effeminate if they're male. They maybe want to be gay. They want to be a complete heterosexual male and go on and make babies. The fact that we're accepting the fact that it's okay for parents to decide that their young boys can't grow up to be happy, healthy, heterosexual males that want to make babies. What is wrong with our fucking species that that's okay? And that trying to be anti that is hateful? I'm sorry, when you're self-hating, you're doing something anti your own species, your own way of reproduction and continuing on this planet is the good thing. And when I'm against that, I'm the bad guy, or the people that side with my opinion are the bad guys. Look, guys, if we don't step up and start voicing our opinion and not be afraid to be called homophobic, to be called, transphobic, to be called hate, to be called a bigot, to be called a racist, because all that stuff gets thrown in, even though it has nothing to do with race. You're going to get called all that stuff. I've sat here on social media and said something about trans people, and I've been called racist, homophobic. I'm like, okay, I don't know that has anything to do with homosexuality necessarily. I don't know that they're homosexual. They may be a man wanting to change into a woman, but still wants to have sex with women. So I don't know. Which means they're originally a man wanting to have sex with somebody that's originally born a woman and are genetically a woman. If it's a genetic man having sex with a genetic woman, they're, in my opinion, heterosexual. I mean, they may one may have cut his weenie off and they're just bumping and grinding and there's no penetration and there's no sperm to impregnate an egg, but they're still genetically two male, or a male and a female, trying to copulate. They can't anymore. So it's not homophobic. It's not racist. I don't care what race they are. I don't care if they're black, white, yellow, green, or purple. They're mentally ill, and they don't need to be accepted for their mental illness. They need help. Hashtag all lives matter. Transsexual lives matter. Can we make that a hashtag? Hashtag transsexual lives matter. Let's end this rate of suicide that's a result of acceptance. If not, we're just going to basically accept transsexuals into an early grave. And then when the fad of that's moved on and there's hardly any transsexuals left, which will happen, or they'll all just die early, we'll move on. And when I say we, I mean society. We'll progress on to another issue, and we'll latch on to that as if it has to be accepted. More degenerate, mentally ill behavior until we completely destroy our species. Thanks for joining me today. Take care.